Okay, we're going to go through number 4 here, the sloping top and bottom of the cone. It's fairly similar to number 3. Number 3 just had the sloping on the top. This one has it on the bottom. So this one here is how we're going to orientate and draw it. You're not going to draw it like that, but when this pattern is done, maybe this is a smokestack on a BC ferry or freighter or something like that, and that's how this could be used. So let's go ahead. We got 50 down below. We got 125 for the height, and we're 30 and 30. So we'll go ahead and draw this. We do have to do a little half moon on the bottom, so we have to allow and be up at least 50 mils from the bottom of the page. So for this here, I've already started the baseline, and I'm up 60, and I'm just going to come in 5 mil. And I'm going to do a little bit differently than number 3. Number 3, I put a pattern off here, but I'm going to put the pattern in the middle of the page just to change things up a little bit. So 0, we got 50 and 100 for that. Need to put up a center line, so vertical line. Again, roll your pencil when you're creating a line. That'll keep your pencil sharper. It self-sharpens. So 125 for the height, for the apex. There. The sides on there. So these don't take too long, take about 20 minutes to do each one. But if you get stuck, or you're having hiccups, and it takes a little bit longer. Or if you had a mistake, or you dimensioned something incorrectly. So the 125 is making sure that you have that, making sure you have the 50, double check, double check. These are a measuring exercise as well. This is plate development's got a lot of different aspects to it, and measuring is one of them. You got to make sure your measurements are exact, otherwise your pattern's obviously no good. So I need to extend this line down. Should have done that to start, but that's all right. Construction lines there. Let's divide this up into 12. Make sure your dividers did not move. Sometimes the springs in them, they'll move. Like I said, next year when we get to triangulation, having 2 sets of dividers is really super handy. Okay, so we got some sloping lines here. This one's at 80, and then this one comes right off this corner here and up. There's 80. And then one comes right off the corner. And again, just match that to the drawing, making sure that you're sloping the correct way. I'm just going to come right off that corner down there. Again, you'll see how I spin my pencil when I draw. I get my head out of the camera there. Go there. And then just make sure it looks like the drawing. Double check. We're about 28, 29 up. So that's correct there. Okay, let's bring these element lines up. Element lines is what gives an object a 3-dimensional shape. It's kind of like putting a piece of graph paper around something. So it gives you something to measure to. Here, this would be a top view. This is what we're doing down below. And we're just transferring these lines up to a front view. That's what we've done here. Just going to bring these element lines up. You can get colored pencils as well. You know, if you want to draw your element lines a different color, then that's fine as well. Okay. Again, we numbered the last one as well, so we'll number this one, but all these have to come over. Let's just bring these all over to the one side. It doesn't matter which side you bring them over to, you just have to bring them over to the sloping side. I might be off a little bit on these just because I don't want to lean straight over and get my head in the way of the camera. It's pretty close, I think, for what we're doing. Just going to use the bottom side here. Sometimes these T-squares got a bit of a shadow line to them, depending on how well your light is in your room. Obviously, when your light's right overhead, it's all the better. And then that one's right off the top there, so I really need to bring that one over, but I'm going to. Again, we could number these. I'll number them just for ease of identification. And then just on the way up. Same at the bottom. 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7 at the top. So on number 3, I made the pattern coming off the one side. So I'm going to change this one up a little bit. There's lots of different ways to do something. So the last one, I'm not going to be able to get the full pattern in here. I'd need a bigger piece of paper. I don't have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where my center is. Obviously, I'll be able to get this in the center of my page. I'm going to estimate there's about my center line right there. That's my marking checking pattern that I have, and you have those on the D2L that you can print. They're full scale. You can check your pattern when you're done. So I'm just going to create this as center line. We're going to do a full pattern on this one. Taking your dimensions off the side here, and again, just trying to be as accurately as possible. So it looks like I'm about 135. So I don't have my AutoCAD up and running here. So again, the more accurate you are at laying out at the beginning, the more accurate your pattern will be as well. So 135 there. Okay. Hopefully your dividers go long enough. If not, you get little extension arms for them. But they should be long enough for this here. Okay. And again, construction lines, I always make my construction lines as large as possible, then I don't have to go back and redraw. So anytime you have to redo something or extend something takes time. So. Okay, a little bit of math on the bottom. It's going to be similar to as we did number 3. So it's a 100 diameter times pi. And that equals the 314. So for that, and then if we divided it by 2, what the last one was, 157. And then we'll divide that, so we're in half, we'll divide it by 6. And that would be the arc length from 1 to 2, and that would be an arc length on the curve, not straight. So 26. Okay. So half one way, half the other. So I'm going to go 157 on the one side and 157 on the other side. 157. Get that on there as accurately as possible. Sometimes the snakes have the flexible rulers that are in those snakes, and those are really handy. And I'm going all the way up to 157 here. This is always the troubling part, trying to measure that as accurately as possible. So I'm going to have to transfer a lot of the dimensions over. So obviously this has twice the work as number 3, just because we have this sloping on the bottom there. So 26, that's what we need to measure over on the curve. Make sure everything is on the curve. Go 26 and you can go 52. Anybody better at math than me? 52 plus 26, 78. 78. And I'm going to measure in from the other side. 26, 52, and then double check to make sure you have 26, which it looks like you do. And then the other side, same thing. 26, 52. Again, the more accurate you do this, the more accurate your pattern is going to be. So we're just doing participation marks on these ones here online. In the classroom or on the test, there's a grading guide, and we would be marking to that grading guide. So this is where in the classroom you have to be as accurate as you could, because I think mark within pretty much exact. The lines have to match. So within a millimeter, the thickness of the pencil line. Let's bring all these down, and we'll number these. We'll figure out where our seam's going to be. Like I said, our seam usually goes on our shortest side. Except for in level 1 when we did our multi-piece cones, we always put our seam on the side. And that's because we rotated everything 180 degrees every time. We don't have time to do a multi-piece 90-degree cone this year either. So we're not going to do that this year. Maybe next year. Make an elbow out of a cone, which is a lot of layout. Okay, here we go. Okay, so if I'm looking at my pattern here, this comes all the way down to the bottom. This is on the top, so this would be all the way down at the bottom over here for this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 in the center here, and it looks like our seam's going to be on the shortest side, which is over here. Okay, so we're going to number 1 through 7 out, and 1 through 7 on the way out. Okay, lots of work now. So we're going to take every length on the sloping side. We'll just start at the top. And we'll go to number 7 there. We'll do 7 first. But since our numbers are already done, it's going to be easy to match this way. Let's go a little bit longer for 6. The hardest part of these is the snake at the end, where we're having to snake everything together. This is the part of the video where I wish I can speed it up. This is a lot of the same here. So I'm going to do the top first, and then I'll do the bottom. Again, make sure your 4 matches your 4, your 3 matches your 3. Another little trick here is if you have a mat underneath this piece of paper is better. So a piece of craft paper underneath would make for a nice soft surface underneath. This is a hard surface I'm drawing on, and I can feel the tip of my divider starting to wear through my paper, and it's starting to create a hole. It's starting to move. That's why the mats are nice. You go to the drafting board, they've got a nice kind of rubbery surface. And that's meant for sticking your pointy dividers in. Again, if we were out in the shop and you were to form this up, you'd have to form this up as a cone, and then you would be cutting off the top and the bottom after. Just because in the press brake, you get different bends because of the spring back of each piece. Spring back is a problem with press braking. Also, it'd be hard to make a template for the ellipse to match for the ellipse. It'd be a lot easier to make a template for the round bottom, bend it up to something round, and then cut it after that. A lot of these are plasma cut out on the CNC machine. They'll be stitch cut. And number 1 should be at the bottom. Stitch cut, and then you form it up, and then you just cut from stitch to stitch. And one matches. Look at that. Let's get our snake here, or you can use your ruler if that works for you. And just match this up the best you can. Put my pencil over. You should actually try to go past the one that you're going to do. So you can see my number 1, I've gone to number 2, but I'm only going to draw a line to number 1. So again, this is always a little troublesome, a little extra work. Some people try to freehand these, which is a little more difficult. People get good at freehanding. When you freehand something, you just look towards the next point. You don't look at the tip of your pencil, but you look where your pencil's going. That's how you freehand. You can see I'm off a little bit on number 1. That's all right. I'll go back and fix that up. Again, it's just a little bit difficult here for me to stand up and not bump my head into the camera. I got my camera right overhead here. And I'm just trying to move that along. There we go. About there. That should have a... It's always hard to tell where it's supposed to go up and where it's supposed to go down. So go back and fix this up. I should probably erase this out of here. And a better eraser are these white erasers, and I don't have my eraser card on me. Eraser card is a little, it's got little holes in it so you can erase and not rub out other lines you don't want to erase out. There we go. Get the top here. Anytime these get a little tighter, they're always a little more difficult. It looks pretty good there. Pretty good coming up one side. Working up here. Pretty small pattern. Working in a... Whoops, sorry, might have had my head in there. It's really hard to see here too. This is the fiddly part for sure with these snakes. We'll get this right up top there. Try to get that as accurately as you can. Sometimes you almost need 2 people. Okay, that looks pretty good. Practical projects grading guide here for the drafting. So your name, date, so basically work your way through here. So basically all I do is I like to put my ruler on here. And I'm just going to draw on center here. So it's always nice to put your name on there, then they know who built it. All the information goes inside the pattern. Because when this is cut out, everything is inside, right? Project name, sloping top and bottom cone. And it's drawing number 4. And this is a full pattern. Try to print as neatly as possible. That's why I'm using this ruler here. Center line. So this will be our center line here. Our bend lines. So these would be our bend lines. Little diamond shapes there, identify for that. Sometimes you can use the rolls to roll up a cone. Coming up in our shop equipment section. Also, even putting this one here will bend to the bottom, but on the top here, we'd actually cut this to here. So I'm going to put a burn line here. So this will actually be a burn line. And this will be a burn line as well. This burn line would be burnt after it's formed. So this one here, we're going to form 2. And what are we going to form that one to? So that's off the top here. So number 7 coming across. So it looks like it's about 28. That way. The bottom is 100. Give that arrow direction. Okay. This would be a shear line. That would be a shear line, so you're going to put it on a piece of paper. This will be a burn line. Burn line, the B always goes right through the middle like that. Put it in a couple different spots. That's for identification. Shear line, shear line, shear line, shear line. Quarter marks. We'll put some marks on here. Nice to have these marks right here. So after it's all formed up, you can fit it together. And it's important to have your quarter marks with anything that's round. So obviously when you're fitting something up, that you have another center line to go to. Okay, I think that's about it. So just going through the list here, center lines, yep, bend lines, forming directions, quarter marks, burn lines. Light and dark for this one here, we're just kind of going all dark for this one. Object lines straight and singular, you can see I had a couple little hiccups maybe here. I might be a little bit off over here, but pretty good for this one. The marking here, we're not going to worry about this for the assignment. The assignment is complete or incomplete. Something that looks just like this would be fantastic. Have your name on there, and then this is all that we need to see for a completion participation mark on this one here. Okay. And then go ahead and check this with the pattern up to the window. Get a piece of glass or something like that, and you can check to make sure this all lines up. And if it doesn't line up, it's probably because you had a problem over here somewhere, or dimensional error of some sort. So there we go. Faster way to do this would be just coming off the cone this way. I just didn't have enough paper. So very good. Thank you.